Hi everyone and welcome along. Today I'm going to teach you how to paint a lovely watercolour fox in an autumn scene. So grab your paints and let's get started. Right then, Ant keeps telling me it's not officially autumn yet and I'm just ignoring him for now because I'm really excited about autumn. So I have got a circle drawn with a compass. It's 4 inches across. Of course you could just find something round to draw around, but this is going to be our guide. And I'm going to place in here a little cozy curled up fox. And so what we're going to do is just create a little bit of a sort of round sort of ovalish shape, and from there I'm going to just do a little tail and a back leg, and then a head there. With some little ears. And then from there, get some sleeping eyes in there, and then that will take us down to the nose. And that's kind of all we need for our fox. That creates our lovely fox, and then we just sort of cheat that out a bit. But that's a really nice way of doing a quick and easy fox drawing. As you start with that round circle, turn the bottom into a tail, a little loop there for a back leg, and then place a head in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the circle to draw in some autumn sort of bare branches. We'll have a few leaves coming off. I'm not going to draw in everything because we like to paint as much as we possibly can. I am going to pop in a few mushrooms and things here. But we'll have a few branches coming out and then curl some like that. So that's all we really need for this scene, and we'll get rid of our pencil. At home I recommend now that you give that a light rubbing out with an eraser. For filming purposes I'll keep it as heavy as it is so you can actually see what I'm doing. I've got my size 2 brush and I'm going to begin painting the fox with a mixture of cadmium orange and cadmium red. Just going to make that orange a little bit more sort of burnt colour there, and just going to get going in there. So start with the hind leg, and then I'm going to work my way down into the tail. You might want to use a slightly smaller brush, but we are sort of painting this with quite a blend, so a larger brush just means that you cover more distance. And then we'll just fade it slightly to the end there. I'm going to take a slightly smaller brush now, get a little bit more detail in. I've got some burnt sienna here, so just along the bottom. So just creating the shape of this tail and then slowly drawing it up around the body. And now I'm going to come across the top. I'm just trying to give the various bits I've painted a bit of time to dry. And now I'm going to take some water and just draw that colour down. So we get a contrast between the slightly darker orangey brown of the leg there, bit of fluff there. Oh, we'll ignore that, and that can be taken off once the painting is dried. Okay, so if I'm just careful there, we'll manage to avoid too much of a bleed or blend, and then just a little bit round the side. So you see, you don't have to wait hours for paint to dry with watercolour, but you do just need to be a little bit sort of conscious of how things are drying. And we can come back to that and give it a little bit more interest and detail once it's dried. But now let's have a little look at some of the other things here. We've got some mushrooms. I want to paint in the sort of stalks here in a yellow ochre colour. But I will place in just a bit of shadow at the top there and a bit that's just coming down from the side. And I'm going to, whilst everything's drying, you sort of have to just keep one eye on things that are wet, things that are drying. I'm now going to place in a few autumn leaves. Now autumn leaves, the beauty of autumn leaves is they're often in different stages of colour change, and so we're going to paint them in that way. So I've got green gold down here, which is a great colour for the starting of the green to change into orange. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to begin to paint some sort of fairly sort of nondescript leaves, but they've got this little serrated edge. So I'll do that again. So using the brush stroke to create that edge, and then of course if we want we can just drop in a little bit of orange. They don't all have to be the same shape or size, but as I'm drawing these on the same branch, I think I will do that. Okay, I'm going to paint a few in just in orange. So I'm just going to fill in leaves all over these branches, and every now and then drop in a bit of extra colour. Now those leaves are drying, we can paint in our fox's head. Now I do need some Mars Black now, because foxes do have sort of black tips on their ears. So size 2 brush. Got this sort of orange ready mix, and I'm just painting in the head. Even get a bit of burnt sienna in there, might be quite nice. And we'll come down the middle, just kind of blend it out a little bit, and then pop in a little bit of Mars Black. That's rather nice. So again, we'll sort of just let that dry a little bit, and I can paint in some toadstool tops. So I've got some alizarin crimson here, quite diluted down, very diluted down actually. And if I paint that shape in, just really very faintly with a wash of water, isn't it? And then get some slightly more concentrated colour. And that looks quite cool. I'm going to do that now with the burnt sienna. So a nice faint dilute wash. So we're basically creating a wet area, and then getting more concentrated amount and just carefully placing that in. It's very tempting to start poking about with the brush, but try not to, is all I will say. Now, I have got my rigger brush here. I want to mix up some really dark brown for the branches. So in comes Payne's Grey, mixed in with some burnt sienna, and that's going to contrast really nicely. And what I want to do is paint in some branches along these pencil lines, but the pencil lines are there as a guide, but like by all means just start creating your own branches if you want to. I mean, do connect up the leaves. You just think how when you look at a tree branch, the amount of protruding branches is just endless. It doesn't matter if it just bleeds into that little mushroom a little bit. And then what we've done here is sort of purposefully painted over the top of those, just to sort of blend everything in together. And then what I can do is just sort of, with a clean wet brush, smooth that around, and you get a nice little bit of darkness on the side of the fox. So we're just going to fill in all those branches and then on to the next stage. I've now mixed together a bit of alizarin crimson with the Payne's Grey shadowy mix. It's not going to be massively noticeable, but I'm now going to add in little berries, little dots. I'm not worried about them all like being joined on and connected. But it's whenever you sort of paint a wreath, I'm always talking about like focal flowers and filler flowers, and the same is for when you're painting something that isn't necessarily flowers, but you place in your largest things first, like the fox, and then you can sort of, and then the toadstools and all those kinds of things, and then the leaves are just a bit smaller so they can go in next and fill in the gaps. And then things like the little berries, they can be slotted in last once everything else has found its place. So everything's just a little cluster on any sort of empty branch. That's looking really nice. So we're just going to let everything dry and then we can do some detail. Once everything's dry, that is the point to have another good rub out of the pencil, because now we can sort of see clearly what we're going to add detail to. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of detail to the leaves. So I just want to get a slightly deeper, darker, more concentrated colour, and place in a few little leaf lines. So I've gone for a sort of deeper red colour. Even for the green leaves, I think that works well for the autumn leaves. So we'll place that in first. Next, our little mushrooms, toadstools. I'm going to use the same colours here. Let's see, we'll pop a few spots on. Won't be massively visible, but we will see them a little bit, and then just a few little lines. And then we'll use this colour here for this one. So it's just important to keep your colour palette a little bit limited. So hold on to all the colours in your palette and just keep using what you've used already. We don't want to put too much detail on, but it just does lift things. And now finally the fox we haven't looked at for a little bit. So what I would like to do is I would actually like to add some more detail to the actual fur. So I'm using my sort of slightly reddy brown colour I was just using for the leaves, and I'm going to paint in lots of little dashes with my size 4/10 brush, and we're going to just cover the shapes of the body with little hair dashes. If you start on the sides and then work your way in as the paint gradually sort of dries up from your brush, it means it's quite an easy way to get a good gradual sense of the roundness of the shape, and it means that you won't run the risk of suddenly putting a really like solid blob of colour in the middle. So yeah, we're just going to fill in the shape, and so from the fox head, remember the hair is sort of coming from the centre of the back and then creeping out over the back, following the shape around. Okay, so now we've got some lovely bits of detail on there, so I just used a bit of black on the ears, a tiny bit of very dilute shadow there, and now I'm going to, I've let it dry, and we're going to place in some little sort of shut eyes. So I've got my 4/10 brush, I'm just going to follow along the white there and do a little sort of teardrop. And then we're going to just do a little chin, and then I just clean my brush off and just blend that down there, blend that down there. And there we go. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed that one. I want to say a massive thank you to our patrons for their support, because that support enables us to keep creating videos like these that everyone can enjoy. And if you enjoyed it, then hit the like button and comment below to let me know how you got on with that one. And of course, if you never want to miss another video, then hit the subscribe button and the little notification bell, and we'll see you again next time. Bye!